is there a calisthenics equivalent for deadlifts? That's a common question I've had multiple times over the years, and I finally want to address it. I personally don't think there's a one-for-one substitution for deadlifting in calisthenics. However, there are two calisthenics exercises that if you do them regularly, you can work the same musculature as the deadlift in the same fashion. And although it's not a one-for-one substitution, I think it does a pretty good job. All right, everybody, welcome back to Minus the Gym. I'm Ryan, and let's talk about deadlift substitutions. The first exercise I recommend is bodyweight good mornings. Now, the way you're gonna do this is you're gonna stand with your feet about hip width apart, bend slightly at the knees, hinge at the hips, lowering your torso down, and then raising it back up. And just repeat that for reps. Now, the target here, you wanna try to go down so your torso is about parallel to the ground, but just go with what you're comfortable with, because we all have different levels of flexibility, and I don't want you to risk straining any muscles in doing this. Specifically, you would probably strain the hamstrings, because this exercise targets the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings when you hinge like this. Now, what's interesting is if you put your arms down in front of you, like if you're holding an imaginary barbell while you're doing these good mornings, you'll see that it greatly simulates a deadlift. In fact, some people might even call this a bodyweight deadlift. But the reason why I consider it a good morning is because traditionally in weightlifting, a good morning is done with weight on your back, kind of like a back squat. And whenever we add extra weight in calisthenics, we tend to do it with a weighted vest. At least that's how I do it. And when you put on the weight vest and do these, it's great. I recommend doing that, but it's loading the body more like a good morning than a deadlift. Now, one thing you're probably going to notice is right off the bat, you can go pretty high rep with these because it's not a super challenging exercise. You might find you can do 20 or 30 reps on your first attempt, but my advice is to approach this very carefully. All right, go at like 50%, maybe 75% of max, and then stop the first few times you do these good mornings because the DOMS is very real. All right, I remember when I first started doing these a couple years ago, I hadn't targeted my hamstrings in a long time, and holy cow was I sore the next day. And I remember it lasted like the better part of a week. So approach these very carefully, be careful of the DOMS. I'd rather you start out at 50% of your max and over the course of about 2 weeks, build up to doing them till failure. I recommend 3 sets done till failure twice per week. One other thing is you want to make sure you drive with the heels, or you want to press down with your heels as you lift your torso up. That's really important because you want to engage the glutes on this exercise, and driving down with the heels is really going to do that, okay? So those good mornings focus on kind of the mid-posterior, like the lower back, glutes, and the hamstrings. Now, how do we address the upper body part of a deadlift? Because remember, you're holding a barbell, and holding that weight is going to load the upper traps, in fact, the whole shoulder girdle, as well as the forearms from gripping. So how do we do that? Well, my answer to that is the inverted hang. And what I'm using here is a low bar. This is the base bar by Base Blocks. And if you're in the market for a low bar like this, just keep in mind I have an affiliate link in the description below this video that can save you 10% at checkout at Base Block's website when you follow that link. All right, so this is the base bar. I recommend using a low bar just because you're gonna be inverted and you don't wanna, if you ever fell from a high bar, that would be really bad, okay? So I recommend using a low bar like this. And what I do is I get into a tucked front lever, and then I just press up and extend my legs so that I'm in a full inverted hang. Now, you don't have to be straight up and down vertical. In fact, it's kind of good to be slightly diagonal because that's going to engage more of that lower back and core. But really here, what we're after is we are gripping the bar and we are holding, it's kind of like you're doing a shrug, like if you were to hold a barbell. In the way that you're gripping the bar like this, you're really engaging the upper traps and the whole shoulder girdle and the forearms. So it's going to simulate that gripping of the barbell during a deadlift. And I like to hold these isometrically and just see how long I can hold them, but you can also go in and out of them for reps, whichever one you prefer. And again, just like the good mornings, I think a good target is 3 sets done until failure twice per week. And there you go, guys. Those 2 calisthenics exercises, if you do them regularly, are going to work the same musculature as the deadlift in the same fashion. And remember, I don't believe they are a one-for-one substitution for deadlifts. I think heavy deadlifting is in a realm all of its own. But if you don't have access to a barbell, you don't plan on, getting a barbell anytime soon and doing deadlifts, these 2 exercises are great to really hit that posterior. And that way, if you ever do encounter a barbell, you'll be ready to do those deadlifts and you'll probably impress yourself with how much weight you can pull. And as always, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you found the information really helpful. Subscribe if you want to learn more from me, and I will see you in the next video. Talk to you soon.